What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about Tainan Dalpra. Now, if you haven't seen Tainan's record, it is yeah. Now, you see records like this sometimes when we talk about amateur boxing and things like that. Guys are padding their record and we see guys that are 70-0, but this just does not happen in Jiu Jitsu. So if we do get a rare once in a lifetime athlete like this, we should really focus in and study what they're doing. One of the big things I focus on when I teach is systems. Every move you learn in Jiu-Jitsu is part of a greater system. So you have like a close guard system, back system, mount system. Now, one of the things I noticed with Tainan though is he's piecing those systems together in a way that almost transcends them. He's setting up his pass before he ever sweeps you. He's setting up his back take before he ever passes your guard. I think for most people, it's pretty unrealistic to think that we're going to be able to do all these combinations that he's doing. It's like chess grandmaster level of forward planning, but that doesn't mean we can't pull some things from it. Now, I'm sure you can tell based on the title, but the main thing I want to focus on is how he sets up his pass before he sweeps. As we go through some of these matches, there's a couple things I want you guys to focus on. One is how he uses the guard to bring the grips he needs to him, and the second is his sense of urgency. We see him sit people down on a sweep, but he never rushes to get on top. He has all the necessary control to sit them down, so there's no reason to let that control go and try to switch to something else. We pick up our first match in close guard right after a big takedown from Murasaki. Tainan transitions his grips like he's climbing a ladder. Never at any moment is he letting go of both grips at the same time. There's always a clear path for each grip to move to before he's going to let go of the one he already has. Now, the grip on the belt was already there from closed guard, but it's still serving his purpose after his opponent stands up. It's just breaking his posture down, but notice how he underhooks the foot as soon as that becomes available. It's hard to see from this angle, but he's already getting a cuff grip at the bottom of the pant leg. Now remember that because it's going to become important later on. While you're setting up X or single leg X, if the person on top can get enough space, it'll be easier for them to pummel their leg and start to undo things. So that grip on the belt is pretty useful to keep him connected to the X guard. And going back to that ladder concept, that grip should have a clear path on where it's going next before you let it go. And for now, it's that other pant leg. So now he has a grip on each pant leg, and something to keep in mind with X guard, single leg X guard, is your legs are underneath your opponent, but they're not in their legs. It's not like 50-50 guard where if I come up, I'm coming up into another guard. Your legs are kind of free to move after you finish the sweep, so it allows you to hit the person with a pass right as you come up. The concept for the sweep is relatively simple once he has those pant legs. He's just going to try to find an angle to get to his feet, and then he can run his opponent over. If you put yourself in the position of his opponent, someone has your pant legs, they stand up with them. How do you defend that? Well, the answer is you have to defend it before they stand up. You have to shift your weight on top of them and keep your weight over them enough so that they can't find an angle to get up. For Tainan, the sweep is multi-directional. He shifts your weight one way and he comes up on the opposite side. The easiest to understand variation is just to sit them down to their butt and come up into their guard, but he can go all four directions. He can go left and come up on the right. He even takes him over his head and comes up into the guard here. But the thing to keep in mind is that he already has the grips for the passing system he wants when he comes up. Okay, so why is it so valuable to have these grips right when you come up? Generally, right after getting swept, your first order of business is to set up the guard you're going to play now that you're on your back. So that usually involves getting grips with your hands and then putting your feet on key points. If the person on top already has their grips though, they're one step past you. They're already doing their move while you're setting up your move. I like to teach passing in layers. There's levels of the guard that you should focus on before you move on to the next one. So for me, it's feet, then I can focus on their knees and hips. Then once I passed all those, then I can control their upper body. Notice how Tainan doesn't allow his opponent to set up that first layer. Right when he comes up, he immediately steps over both of his opponent's feet. Now we do see Tainan switch to the upper body sometimes, but it's only when he's closed enough distance to where his opponent doesn't have the space to put their feet back on him, right? If his opponent is able to press him off a little bit, he's going to release that collar and he's going to go back to focusing on the legs. Now there's a lot of athletes with good multi-directional passing, but the reason we see it from Tainan so much is he's always one step ahead. He's never getting tangled up in a guard. He's always dealing with that first layer of a guard when it happens. And this is the level where you'd start looking for upper body control. You're looking for your crossface, you're looking for your underhook just to connect yourself to them. But if at any moment his opponent does get a knee back under, does get a foot back on him, that should be where the focus shifts. The sweep looks a little different in this one, but keep that concept in mind. He's going to come up with the grips he wants to pass with, and he's going to immediately avoid that first layer of the guard. He's not going to allow his opponent to put his feet on him. The sweep itself is worth highlighting. It's pretty simple, but an interesting idea. We already talked about the value of having double pant grips, and it works on top and bottom. If you're trying to finish a sweep on someone and they're holding your feet off the ground, how are you going to get up? Well, the way Tainan does this is he off-balances his opponent. He sends his opponent over to his left side, and then when his opponent puts the right hand on the ground, Tainan takes his left leg away. As much as everyone hates the double guard pull stuff, learning how you're going to hold your opponent down while you get up is a pretty important skill you can gain from it. As he comes up, he moves himself directly inside the guard. Now, this seems counterintuitive to a lot of people, but he's just moving past that foot layer. Whether you go inside, outside, it doesn't matter. As long as you're passing the feet, you're moving on to the knee and hip layer. The knees and hips don't give him too much of a problem here, and you'll see this pretty often because that foot layer can often snowball. You pass the foot layer, the person on bottom's focused on getting that layer back, and you're already focused on passing layer 2, 3, so it just puts them on the back foot. Now, the end of your passing chain is gaining control of their upper body, but since he can't get close enough on this side, we see him shift himself over the guard and move to the other side where he can get a little closer. The reason that's possible is because he stays past that knee layer as he shifts over. If he was to move above the knees while he's doing that, he's just going to put himself back in the guard and have to go through all these steps again. The pass is pretty much over here. He could just settle in on that side, but notice how as soon as his opponent's legs open up, he brings this knee in to trap the bottom leg. Put yourself in the position of the person on bottom. Someone has you here and you're trying to hip escape out. That leg is going to be pinned in a way where you can't push it off the ground. So your only hope is going to be to push that knee off your leg or use your arms to try to press his upper body off of you. But either way, your legs are kind of out of the mix at this point. Now, a lot of athletes will tell you they only look for submissions when they compete. Well, Tainan is one of the rare few that actually does. It seems like every time he goes out and competes, he wants to make a statement. When we see this side-to-side movement here, it's not because he doesn't have control. It's just because he's trying to create a reaction to open up a submission. It speaks to the confidence in his own passing. This game is not necessarily a game you want to play against guards you're unsure if you can pass. To me, it takes a ton of work to pass someone's guard, so after doing all that work, the last thing I want to do is risk going back inside there. That's the thing that's so impressive about Tainan to me is he's not just winning these matches strategically. He's fighting the best black belts in the world. He's taking risks the whole way through. He's keeping the matches exciting while still maintaining a near perfect record. In any sport, when someone pulls this far away from the group, there's something special happening and we should really look into it and see what we can learn from there. To me, Tainan is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete, so while he's around competing, let's take advantage of it and learn as much as we can. If you're still here, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. The channel's growing pretty fast. The growth is really motivating. So as long as you guys are here, as long as you guys are watching, I'll keep making videos as fast as I can. The editing process is speeding up, so I'm hoping to get to a point where we can have like a video a week. Thank you guys.